and welcome back to Stroop Mansion. It is finally time for a closet update. So if you are new here or have just forgotten in the month and a half since I last talked about this project, I am currently working on the coat closet off of my dining room. It's a really neat space that actually has access into the closet from two separate rooms. So it's the ideal space for a hidden door. But my main reason for working on this room is actually that it was just really, really gross. So there was plaster dust everywhere, chunks of the ceiling were falling down, it wasn't insulated, which meant it was very, very cold in there, and we had a little bit of a mouse problem. It's finally time to have a clean place to put coats. So when I last checked in with you about this project, I had just finished gutting the room, which was a little bit bigger of a project than I had anticipated. I think I went into it thinking, oh, it's a closet, it's a small room, no sweat. But this demo kicked my butt. I got a black eye, I ripped one of my favorite pairs of overalls, and it just took so much longer than I thought. But that is where I left you, and I am excited to tell you that I have done a boatload. What you will see in this video is not a finished product. You're not gonna see any colorful fun choices. This is basically just getting it to a blank slate, which is one of like the biggest hurdles in owning an old house. It's not like I just start from like a nice living room and paint it and then I'm done. Like, everything is so many more steps. So the first step of this after demo was insulating the room. I don't have any footage of this, but trust me, it is so much warmer. I can't believe how the cold air used to pour into this room. Next up, it was time for drywall, which went fairly quickly, but also quite sloppily. The things that I imagined giving us problems, namely drywalling around the curve, no problem at all. We got that in one sheet without even perforating the back. It just bent beautifully around the corner. It was very satisfying. But we did have problems, including doing the ceiling that is under the steps. It was an absolute nightmare. And if I'm going to be completely honest with you, I did not shoot more footage of this because I didn't want to be called a hack. This is hack work. This is so bad. My dad always insists that a good mud man can fix anything, and your girl, she's getting quite handy with the mud, which I have to when you are doing work like this. So this is the only shot I have of that ceiling pre-tape and mud because it was just so embarrassing. But I just knew that, like, I knew it would turn out good, so I was like, I gotta get this one little shot. I love my awkward little laugh here. That is an embarrassed laugh. Okay, hold on. I have to show you the picture that I hid in the wall. In every project that I do, like a big like demo project or where I'm like building something, I always put an instant photo inside of it so that someday a future owner can find it. So here's my dad and I working on drywall. Okay, back to the project here. My dad and I worked on mudding that for what felt like about 9,000 years. But girl, let me tell you, it is so smooth and beautiful. You would never know what a terrible patchwork drywall job is under that. I am still learning, but I take great pride in my work, and I think that turned out excellent. It is so smooth and it's feathered beautifully. I think that maybe hanging drywall is not for me, but I can mud. On to the fun stuff, the hidden door. I had lots of partial ideas on what I wanted to do for this hidden door, but actually did not make a decision until it was time to build it. I went with a bookcase hidden door, and I say bookcase, but there will be no books in here. Books go out here and in our future library. This I'm more imagining with like baskets with gloves in it and like other closet stuff just kind of nicely displayed. But I will probably continue to say bookcase because it just is easier to say than hidden shelf door. I don't know, bookcase comes off my tongue. But no books. Picked out pivot hinges, and that was also not fun. Not something I have a ton of footage of as well. My dad was anti-pivot hinge, and I was all for them. We spent a lot of time bickering, and I truly did not know if this was going to work out or if I was gonna have to like figure out something else or just kind of like abandon the hidden door idea to begin with, but it worked out. So pivot hinges, they go on the top and the bottom, and there are 4 pieces. So the top of the bookshelf gets a piece, and then the top of the door frame gets a piece, and then they pivot off of each other. The bottom is the same way. This is unlike regular hinges that would be like on the side and visible. These are completely invisible once installed. So I thought that was the best route to go with it was just something that was completely hidden. Like I said, we had a bear of a time installing these. There are so many wonderful tutorials online that give you step by step and dimensions and this and that on how to install pivot hinges. We didn't look at a single one. We figured it out as we went, which was not the best method. But that's how we roll. We can always make it work out in the end. So here it is. Here is the bookcase frame opening and closing. This was very exciting to get it to this point and realize like, okay, we're good. After that was put together, I drug that down to the basement, installed shelves, and then my dad and I added plywood to the back so that it was a complete bookcase. And then here's where things go sideways-ish again. I was big stressed on how the trim worked. I just could not wrap my brain around how it would be a hidden door. I was imagining that if the door opened the other way, which was not a way that I wanted it to go, then I could picture how the trim would go. I was mentally preparing myself to rebuild the whole like door contraption, redo the hinges, because it just wasn't working in my brain. I even had like stress dreams about it where I was like rebuilding it. But I just happened to see one photo on Google that made the light click on for me, and then we were able to make some trim, and we figured it out. Basically, what it comes down to is that there are 4 pieces of trim, 2 on each side of the bookshelf. These 2 are attached to the wall. This one is attached to the bookshelf, and one is attached to the wall. When it's closed, it just looks the same as the other side, one solid piece. So that is the general gist of the trim that's happening in here, and that feels so good to finally have it in my brain, because like I said, I was big worried this was not going to work out. My dad is a figure it out type of guy, and I don't want to say a quitter, but like I'm not a believer. I have a really hard time imagining that things can work out. So we're not a good team in that sense, because it just makes us argue, but I mean, things get done. So that is where the work will end for this video. Let me show you a little tour through the closet. This is entering through the dining room and going through the hidden bookshelf door into what we will call Jeff's side of the closet. And if you recall, Jeff's side of the closet will be 2 separate rooms. The smallest area under the door, which I still need to build a door for, has this nifty little light switch that comes on when the door is open and shuts when the door is closed on it. So it's kind of a blank slate right now. Next closet update, we will do wallpaper and painting and hanging some of that trim that will make the door look hidden. It will be a very exciting update. That's where the fun stuff will come, because right now, like I said, just a blank slate. But if you are anxious to skip ahead in the progress of this, you can find that on my Instagram subscribers only stories, where I've already got the wallpaper hung, and you can see the paint color. But no pressure, it'll be up here eventually. That is all for now. As you can tell, it's kind of been a roller coaster of a project. Just a lot of like stopping, starting, feeling nervous like it's not gonna work out, and then having it work out. I am just a big old stressy Bessie, so that's all it comes down to. Finally, it feels like the end is in sight though. Like I can imagine this room being done and what it will look like. And that feels good. There's still a ton more work to go, but it feels a little bit more manageable. Thank you guys so much for joining me. I hope you enjoyed seeing a little peek at the closet progress. I will see you next time. I picked out pivot hinges. Gosh darn it. I picked out pivot pin.